They were preparing to sell her home with someone else. They hadn't signed the paperwork yet, and her husband had a massive heart attack, and he subsequently died. And so she called me out of the blue. She's like, "Hey, Jay, Paul just had a heart attack. We're going to have to pull the plug. I don't know what to do." And because of this program and because of the people I put in place, I was like, okay, first thing we do is talk to this probate attorney. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And she was just completely, she was not only blown away, but she was like, I feel so comfortable. I'm not even going to talk to anyone else because you have everything. You have everything in place. I don't need to talk to anyone else. And so it's a level of trust there now because she doesn't see me as just a real estate agent anymore. She sees me as like a guy with, the complete solution. And that's all come from this program right here. So I want to thank you guys for that and for the training of that, number one.
So the most valuable currency in the world, is the impact you have on other people.
Welcome, spectacular real estate agents and investors nationwide. Today is August 6, 2020, and this is Mastermind call number 290. And we do have 3 in the queue, so we have 4 in the queue now. Feel free to jump in. First up this week is phone number
Jim.
ending in... Yes.
Before we get started, I did want to mention, because this is, we have kind of a blended audience. So yesterday was the first Wednesday of the month, and we had the monthly role play call. If you're not one of our subscribers and you're new to our audience, those calls are uploaded at alltheleads.com in our call archive, so alltheleads.com/CCVA, or on your favorite podcast platform. So if you're part of this discussion each Thursday, you may not be aware that we do a monthly role play call for 1 hour. We have those archived on the site, or you can jump onto Stitcher, Overcast, iTunes, wherever you consume podcasts, and you can actually take them with you now. So if you missed the role play call yesterday, be sure and jump back and listen to that call.
Yep, it was a good one. We had 2 very brave souls that went start to finish, took us through their conversations with the sellers, and were willing to be critiqued, and they both did an excellent job, so definitely worth listening to. And they're both relatively new, and they've already pretty much got it dialed in. So definitely worth a listen, and thank you for your patience. First up is phone number ending in 7679. You're up.
Hey, yeah, this is Mike. I was one of the role players yesterday, and so one of the things that I took from the conversation and critique that I had was to really believe in what I'm offering. So I'm trying to develop that and figure out how to vet the partners, like clean out services, things like that. And what was the best way that you guys found to do that?
I think for me, it's just matching values, right? Like if you want to work with a contractor who would be equally suited to serve a 94-year-old, widow as a family of 16 kids who all live out of town, and he has to manage all those, expectations. So if he's the kind of person that's running his business like a business, treats people fairly, he's ethical, integrity is important, then they're probably a good partner for me. So that would be, I would say, my number one, like the first filter is, do our business values align? And if so, then you have a pretty good chance of everything working out no matter what happens. You're always going to have surprises, and expectations will be unset and mismet. But if you have similar values, you can work it out. You can come to mature resolutions on it. So I think that's probably my only criteria. If you get more specific, like in each of the individual seats, I have more specifics, and that's something we do in Mastery. We go through literally 36 different vendors. We look at who what the metaphor we always use is a wheel. So the vendor is a spoke, and you're the hub. But we kind of look at the spoke, show you 3 ways to find them, like the right filters to, to filter it, to get it right the first time. And then each of the things that those people can do once they're in place, like each of the solutions. And I've been teaching it in a mind map. Like I made I'll share this in the Facebook group after this call, but I mapped all this out kind of in a mind map where on the left-hand side, it's your internal team, like your real estate business team. And on the right-hand side, it's your vendor team and all the services they can provide to you and to your clients. And there's a lot of overlap. Many of your vendors should be part of your referral network. So, for example, an estate sale company is a great vendor partner, but they're also a great referral partner, as is an estate planning attorney, a probate attorney, a nursing home employee, a registered investment advisor. Those are all key spokes in the wheel, but they're also, from a marketing standpoint, because they bring value to your marketing message, but they're also very valuable referral partners because they have contact with people in the end-of-life phase before a death occurs, so that you can start to get a lot of referrals. So we kind of look at it from each of those perspectives in Mastery, but I will, Kat can post that mind map in the show notes here, and I'll drop it in our Facebook group so you can see what that looks like.
Okay.
And
I guess,
yep.
I think I was more tactically, so how do you start in a business like this? I don't have all those people in place. Do you just start picking up the phones and calling people and having conversations? Because
is
that the way to get them on board? No, that's all good information and very helpful, but I guess maybe I didn't tell you what I needed the most.
Your question's a very common one. A lot of people think, well, I can't get started until I have this dream team because I'll be lying to people. And the reality is, if you, I know you're relatively new to real estate, but typically you don't have the level of support behind you that you do as a subscriber here. Like, if you needed an estate sale company and you were hitting dead ends, you can call our team and we'll have one for you within an hour. So what I tell most people is you just need to believe that if you had a $50,000 check on your desk and you couldn't deposit that until you got these 5 team members in place, how long would it take you? Before the sunset today, you would have those 5 solutions in place, so you could get that deal. So build your team as you need them, but proceed with confidence that you can do that. And like I said, I've never had somebody call and be like, oh my gosh, I told this family I could do X, and now I can't find the right partner. And if you're in Mayberry, like if you're in a town of 10 people, that might be an issue. But if you're anyone who's in a city of any size, we can find multiple probate attorneys, clean-out crews, contractors. So the short answer is market with confidence that you can do all of those things, and then as you need them, go find those people. And if you have extra time, let's say you have an extra 2 or 3 hours a week, just block that on the calendar and say vendor relations prospecting. And then you call contractors, you call clean-out crews, and you start to vet them. But don't let it hold you up. Is the big takeaway that I want you to get is don't feel like you're behind the 8 ball because you haven't gotten your dream team built. Just market with confidence that that dream team can be built piece by piece as you need it without the customer ever knowing that that it's your first deal with that vendor.
Okay. And Mike, I'm going to chime in. If your internal ethics are telling you that you need to appropriately market yourself and create the proper message, and you don't have the team that you want, what you can always do is say, hey, look at me as your concierge. I am the person that can get you anything that you need. If I don't already have the connection, I'm going to go find it for you, and I'm going to put that person in place, and I'm going to make sure that they're a good partner with us as well. And speaking of that, one of the key people that I've found for my personal team recently, and I didn't even really know that this existed, and I guarantee a lot of our subscribers don't, they're legitimately value-centered, empathy-based concierge services in every city around the country, and many cities have lots of these. You could partner with one of these people and basically make them an extension of your team. And they've probably already used the services that we're looking for thousands of times over and have already done the legwork of vetting these service providers for us. So you ask to plug into their network, they'll generally gladly share their connections with you, especially if you use them for your kind of concierge-based service that you need.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Actually, I'm going to reach out to that now. You sparked something in my memory because when my father-in-law passed, we went to our county's like elderly services, and they gave us like lists of, and I may even still have that stuff. I just kind of forgot about it. Didn't put the pieces together, but that really helps, Bruce. Thanks.
Great.
All right. Thank you, sir, and great job yesterday, Mike, on the role play. Everybody should go listen to it. You did great. All right. We have 3 more in the queue. Next up is phone number ending in 7976. You're up next.
Hello, guys. It's Renee here in Hollywood. And quick question. I'm finding because the LA courts are still closed and people's like court dates, for the letters of testamentary so that I can actually do something, make a decision and actually do something. I'm just curious from all of you and anybody else who wants to chime in on the call, what kind of value propositions are they offering? Because it's quite a long time. It's between now and like November. They got pushed again. So, yeah, whatever. You can offer updates on things that are sold. I can potentially offer vendor needs, clean out and stuff. It's just curious what anybody else is doing in these sort of unprecedented times to stay top of mind without being annoying or just offering something that just they can get on their own or somebody else is going to be offering them.
So something we've been talking about a lot in the last couple of weeks. I don't know if we haven't heard from you. I'm sure you were there listening, but the strategy of offering to post no trespassing signs on all real estate assets. So that's something you can do. Like think about property preservation. You have a background in REO, so what can I do to make sure safety, sanitary, and legal liability is contained, right? So is there broken glass, peeling paint, missing handrails? Like should you like secure the property from a liability standpoint? If anybody were on the property to get hurt, those are reasons to get contractors over there and meet face to face. Or it can be as simple as, I can put this no trespassing sign inside the home so they can't just peel it off the glass. But we can post it on the inside, and that way you're protected if somebody does gain access and become a squatter. That's a great reason to get over there and meet them face to face. It actually is it's a really big deal if they get a squatter. It's unlikely to happen in most neighborhoods, but if it does, it's a big deal. So that's something you can do to just really demonstrate how you're proactively, putting the family's best interests first. Even though they can't do anything, don't have the authority to sign contracts, you're assumptively closing them by engaging with them, like by showing up, doing work for them. So if you proceed just assuming like, hey, listen, we started this early on when you guys couldn't do anything, and just throughout the whole process assume they're working with you. And that's really powerful. Like when you like that'll shape your language and how you interact with them, and they'll just be like, oh, well, Renee's been with us for 3 or 4 months. She's helped us all the way from the very first. We didn't even know that we needed to change the insurance. So when it is time to sign paperwork, and then obviously the other thing, you can get a letter of intent signed. So it can be a letter of intent to purchase, a letter of intent to represent, whatever that is, whatever your strategy, whatever they need and whatever your broker's comfortable with. But a letter of intent is just for the mental commitment. Otherwise, you can consider things like self-storage. They may want to get the house empty. They aren't allowed to sell anything, but what if you get it out to self-storage and get the house empty so your contractors can actually get into the house and give you a scope of work and bid the job and have the entire rehab plan already laid out. So like, getting personal property moved off site can sometimes be helpful if they plan to do renovations. So anything that doesn't dispose of the property, that will, store the property or preserve the property, those are good things to be doing right now to really make a good impression with them.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay, and I did hear some about that, and I piecemeal as I can. You know, some of the higher end properties, people live in the neighborhood and they pop by all the time, but I think the best one is I did find a great vendor here who's almost like a one-stop shop for me, that I'm making those introductions. You know, she does auctions, she does a lot of different things. I believe that she's a trustworthy person. You know, I just get that sense from her, and I think she wants to do more business with me and create more business with me. And so the best I can do is to essentially hand off that relationship like, hey, you know, her name's Regina, so hey, Regina, you know, I'm helping you. You know, she'll put in a good word for me all along. And then, you know, people around here, you know, talk to 2 or 3 or 4 agents or whatever. So the best I can do is to offer that. And then what's working, and this is a share just for everyone else too, is that if it is a bit of a fixer, it may qualify for that seller to not have to pay the commission. So I have, if, again, you know, you got to feel out the conversation, but that gets people's attention because I'm not just another real estate agent calling, and I've noticed that sometimes they don't understand what we're offering. They just hear us as like an investor or another agent, or like we haven't quite cut through the noise, but that has gotten their attention, meaning I still get paid, but the investor will pay my portion of the commission. So that's been very effective as well. It's a little bit out of the scope of what my originating question is and what your answer is, but that has been helping as far as differentiating who I am and what potential offer there could be, because I do ask people, are you opposed to selling the property prior to it potentially coming to market? And they get curious what that means. So hopefully someone understands what that is. But it's more of like almost like a wholesaler mentality as a realtor, and that's working well.
Yeah. I have an idea specifically for you, Renee, that I want everyone else that might be in a market where you do have judicial backlogs and you're waiting on letters testamentary. Renee is in California, and she has kind of a mini mastermind with Bill Gross and John Fraker. Bill is also a certified probate expert, and John is a probate attorney and real estate professional and CPE. But you have that little group. I think it would be good for you and Bill and John to get together and design a letter, and maybe in the first letter, maybe in your second letter. But what can you, like the 2020 probate timeline, what can you do, what shouldn't you do, and what we can do, you know, what we can do to help every family. And maybe list out the services that are or the things that they're prohibited from doing right now. And it's the first paragraph is something like, you know, everything stirred up. 2020 has been quite a year. I realized that, you know, several of the families we have spoken to didn't really know what they could or could not do because the attorney wasn't properly communicating that. We sat down, my team had, you know, we sat down with our California licensed probate attorney, and we clearly defined in this state what can and cannot be done before receiving letters testamentary. And that might be your first marketing piece. And do you think anyone else is going to be sending that? Like just you're really differentiating yourself by saying, in case you didn't know, here's what's prohibited, but here's what we can do right now. And here are the things that we know everyone should do. If you haven't done these, please call today. Let us get this in place. And that would be the example of the no trust, like posting the property, you know, the safety sanitary measures of preservation, and getting proper vacant insurance policies on homes. So you might break it into 3 categories like that. But think about that as your direct mail piece. How powerful would that be? Because chances are a lot of these people don't know what they can and cannot do. And in my experience, most 80% of probate attorneys don't communicate thoroughly with they don't properly set expectations in a non-COVID environment. And now I have to imagine these people are like, well, that's where the objection, I don't know, attorney just said to wait till he calls. He'll tell us what to do. So they're sitting there doing nothing, not knowing what they're allowed to do or not allowed to do. So that ends up having them do more of nothing. So anyways, that's just an exercise. I know you've got that little network. You can do it. For everybody else listening, call a probate attorney in your market, call the probate clerk in your market and say, hey, we work with a lot of families going through probate, and a lot of them are kind of confused what they can and can't do. Would you be willing to just sit with me for a few minutes or jump on Zoom and just make a quick list of do's and don'ts? And anyone can do this in your own market. You don't have to have a little mini mastermind or have a probate attorney. You can do this by simply calling the probate clerk and saying, what's the environment like in this court? How long are the judicial backlogs? And what are the do's and don'ts? And just send an update letter instead of marketing and soliciting the family. What about a newsletter? Like, here's what's happening in the Los Angeles probate court system and what you should expect. Here's what you can and can't do. So maybe it's a newsletter format with you and your vendor partners. So you can say, here, meet our contractor, John Doe. And, he can do these services. And these are the services he can handle on your do list, and these are the services he can handle that are currently on your don't list, but he can handle 2 or 3 months down the line. So just, sit with that idea and see. The simple form is just send a letter that kind of says these things, but you could also collaborate with your probate attorneys and all your other vendors to do kind of a Los Angeles County probate environment update. And they could get used to seeing that, this month and then next month and then the next month. And that's something, if Bill Gross is on here, he would be an awesome person for you to co-create that piece with. But I think that's going to make a big difference, and they'll feel like they're well informed, and you get all the credit for that, right? But I think between the three of you guys, you have kind of a little dream team to do a project like that.
That's
Let
fantastic.
me chime in.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to chime in and tell you, Renee, and really everyone listening to this call why what Chad said is so important. As consumers, we're designed to not take action on things that we're uncertain about. And the majority of the prospects and the leads families that we're trying to serve, if they are not selling a house and selling the house is truly something that they plan to do, if they're not doing it, it's normally because they're just uncertain about the process. And so what you're doing with an approach like Chad just mentioned is you're leading from contribution and leading from education. You're not only telling them the things that you can do to take off of their plate, but you're actually giving them the timeline that they need to be following and the steps that they can be taking, which gives them more knowledge, which leads to more comfort, which leads to faster decisions. And if you want people to actually use your services faster, educate them first. And it really goes to kind of that whole jab, 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 hook approach where you educate, you offer content and contribution multiple times before you really go for the close. And people are going to be just teed up and begging you to do business with us as probate experts and specialists if we can offer more value and educate them and put them at ease about where they should be in the process. So that was really valuable, Chad. I liked what you said. That idea is genius.
Yeah, I keep shaking my head, so thank you. Sometimes it's like you kind of know the answer. I think, Chad, you've alluded to that before, and it's now more than ever, now that enough time has gone by, that it's evident and apparent to me from the feedback on the phone that it's like the first, I'll say month, people are still getting hit with the we buy cash for houses, that whole message, right? Cash, investor, whatever. And they can't do anything. So in a way, it's a gift because, along comes a message like we're describing and they still can't do anything here in LA, right, for another 2 months, maybe 4 months total. And so, I really appreciate that messaging. It's like it could sink in as well as that those other guys might go away. It's been my experience that more the investor wholesaler types that are just using probate as another column, but they don't really care or are coming from contribution, and the messaging occurs like, I want to buy your house at a discount, and that's it. We just buy cash for keys kind of thing, that this type of message has the opportunity to actually land. So I'm not fighting such an uphill battle, because many people have said to me, oh, this house would have already been on the market, or I would have already been moving forward, but I can't. So anyhow, there's a silver lining in all this too.
So Renee, how are you gonna spend all this money in January?
You know what, guys? You guys are getting. So I don't know. Santa's going to be good to you this year. You got to.
So I want to congratulate you on thinking like a business owner, like a true entrepreneur. You know, you're faced with something that very fortunately most people on this call don't have to deal with, but you're facing a 4-month judicial backlog, and you, instead of sitting there twiddling your thumbs or bitching and complaining or quitting, you're saying, what can I do to provide value? What can I do to set up my pipeline for 4 months down the road? Because I need money then too, right? So good for you, and keep doing that. Keep thinking outside of the box. And for anyone else who's on here, if you're in one of these markets where you do have a judicial backlog, think about it. If you're heading into what appears to be a global depression, you need money more this coming January than you have any January in the past. So if you let off the gas and lose momentum on a campaign you worked so hard on, that's the worst thing you could possibly do. So Renee, thanks for being a great example and always being transparent and willing to share with us. But keep coming up with good ideas like this and keep serving these people, and you'll have one of the best damn first quarters you've ever had.
Yeah, and Renee, I was going to add, you said something at the end there that you said something at the end there that rang a bell with me. One of my original mentors in the business over 40 years ago used to always say, figure out what everybody else is doing, and whenever possible, do the opposite. Which is kind of what you're doing. You made a reference to they're getting all these calls from investors saying, I can pay cash for your house. And you are so different from that. You're so opposite that you just automatically stand out. So good for you. I agree. You're going to have a 2021, hey, you're going to do as well as you can. I mean, 2020, but 2021 is going to be awesome for you. And hopefully the end of this year you'll close strong too. So thanks for always being willing to participate and give us great content. All right, guys. Well, I think
thank you.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. You wanted to say something else, Renee?
Oh, no. I just consider, real estate is kind of like the fashion industry. It runs every 6 months. I'm already thinking of, it's already January in my head, right? It's like the fashion industry is, you're thinking of spring, you're doing winter, right? It's like that. So, yeah, everything I'm doing, and particularly for probate, is my year started in July, and it will pop in January. So hopefully people really hear that for themselves. If you feel like you're in a slump or in a mental funk or whatever, it's just you just have to move forward. It's just we've been thrown a curveball here, so don't give up.
Absolutely, and you can obviously hit curveballs, so thank you. Guys, we only have two more in the queue. There's plenty of room for more. Hit *6 and hit 1. In the meantime, next up is phone number ending in 2292. You're up next.
Hey, guys. This is Mark. I'm calling in from Houston. Can you hear me okay?
Hey, Mark. I got you.
Hey. Oh, hey. How you doing?
I can hear you fine.
Okay. Hey, so I got all the leads popped into my news feed about a week or so ago, and I decided to explore it. So I don't know much about this stuff, and I've been talking to your salespeople and whatnot. Anyway, I've gone through. I purchased the first couple of the training part, the recorded part that wasn't live, and as I was going through that, it's sort of like drinking from a fire hose. And I've been on some of the recorded calls. I've been out to YouTube watching some stuff, and I was like, man, there's a lot of stuff I don't know. So what I decided was I needed to get, I needed to learn a lot more about this stuff. And I figured if I didn't learn a few things, I would start taking leads, and then I would quit because I would just get frustrated and overwhelmed with stuff. So, and I'm sitting right in the center of 3 pretty populated counties in the Houston area. So I think the opportunities are abundant, to say the least. But as I was watching the first session of the training, Chad had said something that really hit home. And it was talking about, the expired leads. And so he said, a lot of people are really doing their clients a disservice, not being able to sell their house. And so I've been doing this for almost 5 years now, and I've got this one listing I've had that's actually getting ready to expire, and I've done probably about as good as I can do. But I realized, if I had some more solutions for these people, I might be able to meet their needs better. And one of the things was, and this is just a confirmation, I was thinking that they could probably do an owner financing deal and get on with their lives and do what they wanted to do. And so part of this was just, and I've heard on some of the other recordings that the episode that's Shift Happens, episode 4, kind of goes through that. And so without getting buried in a lot of stuff, I wanted to find out if that was the right direction to, provide that solution for them.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the best resource we have for aggregated creative financing content. And so the question I have, you feel like, it sounds to me like you've done what you can from a marketing standpoint on that particular listing, and you can't lower the price anymore because they have marginal equity. Is that right?
No, they actually own the house outright, and they just feel like it's worth more money than, it hasn't even, I've shown it probably 14 times in the last 6 months. The house is in really, phenomenal condition, but it's just really kind of a yucky plan. And there's houses selling all around them. And so they're like, why isn't this house, is it just because we have a yucky plan? It's like, well, yeah, that's kind of it. So, every house will sell at a price. You just haven't hit that price yet.
Right. And they have resistance to price reductions.
Yeah, they had it listed last year with somebody else. I met them, I think, at an open house or something, and said, let's try it. I think what'll happen if I don't provide a different solution is it'll expire, and they'll probably try to do the same thing next year, probably with somebody else.
Yep. It'll all be your fault if you don't do something in the next week or two, right?
Right,
so
exactly.
Here's what I would do. So the asset's free and clear, right?
Yep.
Is this a probate home or just a?
No, they're living in it. They're their kids are all gone. They just want to sell it and move to Kentucky.
Okay, I would make them a net sheet. You'll see that in session 3 of Probate Mastery. If you haven't gotten there already, we use a net sheet, and you could model out a conventional sale at a price you believe it would actually sell at, and then model out probably a full price sale at their current price, and then tell them where you're going to find that buyer. You're going to go to all the buyer's agents. You're going to go to all of the good loan officers, and you're going to let them know that you have and it's going to be up. The listing will be amended and updated, so you'll check yes on the owner financing available field in MLS. And I would say, coming up on the expiration of this listing, there's one of two outcomes for me. Either I find a way to get you what you need, or you blame me for this and move on and hire somebody else and repeat the same thing. And I know what I think is best for you, because if you use the same methodology and the same price that we've used for the last year, I pretty much know the result for the next year. So what I'd like to do is give you an option. Option one, I'll give you some options. Option one is let's price down to the market and actually below the market, because we know from the 16 showings we've had that the market is telling us clearly the asset is overpriced, and it's probably because of the layouts and that's something that's out of our control. But if we can price below the market and we can generate enough interest, then we can create an auction mentality and potentially sell it at that what I believe is market price. And chances are they're going to flinch. I would do this in person if I were you. Read their body language, and they're going to flinch. And be like, okay, well, that's how I thought you might react. So what I believe is best for both me and you long term requires a lot less of a concession than saying we're willing to take less money. The only concession I need is that you trust me and agree to think outside of the box and the payment for that, like the benefit to that, is I'm actually going to make you guys a lot more money than you've asked me to make you over the last 12 months, and I wasn't able to. And you're kind of falling on your sword here, but you're letting them know that they're in control, and you're trying to get them to do something they're probably hadn't thought about or might not be comfortable with. So I'm going to fall on my sword and show them the big benefits and make it my fault and give them a chance to be the hero in their own scenario. And then pitch to them, like, we have a lot of Mexican national buyers in this market. Many of them are entrepreneurs. They're business owners. They own painting companies, contracting companies. They either don't have permanent citizenship or they don't have 2 years of work history, since they started their companies. And because of supply and demand always drives the price in real estate. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Seller? So if we have almost zero supply and a high demand from people who are cash rich but credit poor, do you think that we might be able to get this premium price? And if I could show you a way that you could make a reasonable interest rate, we could take a safe, what you feel like is a safe down payment, and get a reasonable interest rate, and we could basically turn this house into an annuity for you. Do you think that would work for you? And present it as a plan, like help them see who this buyer is, because if you go try to get them to owner finance it, they're going to be like, oh, it's going to be a catastrophe. Someone's going to come in here and strip out all the copper and set up a meth lab, and then we're going to have to foreclose. And like, they will form their own story. So paint the picture for them. Show them what your vision is for. Here's what the price is. Here's what the down payment is. Here's who the buyer likely is. Like, build it as a persona. It's this person. It's this Mexican national contractor who's in the second year of business, but he hasn't filed 2 tax returns, but he's got $50,000 in cash. And the reason I'm saying that is that's a very common owner financing buyer prospect in the state of Texas. I know people who are doing 50, 60, 70 deals a year this way, and they typically will take a 10 to 20% down payment. They'll charge, market price, like retail price, or sometimes retail plus a premium. They'll do it on a 30-year amortization on a 5-year balloon. So that person has 5 years for the home to appraise, and there's an appraisal clause written in there that basically just extends it. So at the same terms, it will extend another 5 years if the home doesn't appraise. So that way you've mitigated the risk for the buyer. They're not going to get the note call just because the market went down, which it's likely to. But I would present it to them as a ready-to-go solution. So it's not like, well, I think you should list it owner financing, sign here. But, but help them understand, present it as a strategy, more than a tactic.
Okay. Well, I got the story down. That's great. Are the technical, I guess, the components, is that all in that session 4 that I was referring to?
Well, your attorney will handle all that. I mean, you basically need the things you need to account for in the purchase agreement would be, well, let me back up. You need to basically sign a listing amendment that says the listing expiration date has been extended to, and the owner, the private remarks will now say X, and the owner finance field will now be checked yes. And those are probably the listing amendments that you need. Then the next step is when coaching the buyer's agent, if there is one, when coaching them through the purchase agreement, they just need to make sure in the finance category or the finance section of the contract that they address, and honestly, like what I normally do is in the financing, just check owner financing, see additional terms, and then I'll go to additional terms and I'll say, you basically defer that to the attorney and just make it their responsibility to structure the note and the deed of trust and to communicate with the buyer to make sure they understand it. And that takes you out of it and keeps you away from you're not answering legal questions and exposing yourself to any possible risk of practicing law without a license. So that's the safest way to do it, is don't try to be too technical with it. Don't be ashamed to say, you know what, additional terms, attorney John Doe will be handling the closing. He will work with buyer and seller to structure the details of the owner financing agreement, and leave it. So basically,
you're saying I pretty much know what I need to know right now. I just need to go do it.
That's right. That's exactly.
Okay. All right. All right. So very good. I appreciate that. And then in terms of me getting up to speed, is there, other than the training that I'm already doing to finish that, is there any a series of the YouTube videos or whatnot that, because I've been on a couple of these mastermind calls and it's all interesting, but unless you're actually doing one of those things, it's like, okay, I'll file that away and I'll pull that out when I need it. So more of a structured.
It sounds like you like learning through video, right?
I learn anyway. I mean, I just need something in front of me that I can absorb and go, okay, here's step one, step two. So the idea for me is, I've got one solution in my quiver right now. I need a couple more. And when I saw your the way how you're it was some kind of chart that you showed about the different aspects of the business and all those pieces. I'm missing all but like one of those pieces, so I got to start adding those solutions into my quiver, I guess you could say.
Yep.
And I don't need all of them.
Probate Mastery is the best the best thing that's going to keep you on track. You can use that the way it's taught. If you were to follow that and just understand or do the action items, and it's the way Probate Mastery is laid out is very linear. So I could take somebody who's never even heard of a probate transaction and get them up to speed where they're running in the top 5% of agents in the country within 3 days. So my advice is, you've already paid for the best aggregate tools that you have. I would focus on that wholeheartedly first. And session 2 is going to be really useful for you because it's really going to get you clear on the strategy and all the things that you can do and who's going to do those things for you. So you're not doing the work, but you're still getting the credit. And then session 3 is going to focus you on the conversation. How do we talk? How do we start? How do we get the conversation started? We keep it going, stay in control, be a leader, not a salesperson. And then how do we take that to the face-to-face appointment? Once you feel comfortable, and Probate Mastery we've got 9 hours of actual instruction, and then you've got an additional almost 6 hours of kind of freestyle Q&A, more like we have on these calls. So even if you just focus on the core teaching of, sessions 1, 2, and 3, if you just focus on those 9 hours, then the supplementary piece to that would be if you go to our playlist and all youtube.com/all-the-leads playlist, look at tips from the trainer and look at Ask the Expert. Those are 2 series that there's not redundancy there. That's why those were carved out as separate series. So tips from the trainer are usually videos like if I hear something, if I get the same question repeatedly or see the same struggle repeatedly, I try to make a tips from the trainer video to address that, just so that if I'm having a one-on-one conversation, like a coaching conversation, only me and that person know that happened. Where if I put it out as a tips from the trainer, then everybody has the benefit of being able to hear that answer. So that's where a lot of those things live, like things that weren't necessarily covered in the training, but blind spots that were common among many people. That's what that series is. The other series, Ask the Expert, that's where people outside of the real estate space that have a higher level of knowledge in this niche than we do, we bring them in and we interview them. So like probate attorneys, the last one we did was with Probate Cash and Estate Advance Company. So those are good addition, like supplemental resources to Probate Mastery. And then obviously the role play is the other playlist. So we have, 60 hours of archived role play. So session 3 of Mastery will give you a really clear understanding of how we, what the framework is for this conversation. But because there's no scripts, the role play is a great supplement to that because you can hear me and other people, Bruce and our subscribers, you can hear it presented 10 different ways, 12 different ways, rather than just the way I present it in Mastery.
Right.
So those 3 playlists, your tips from the trainer, Ask the Expert, and role play would be your 3 supplementary pieces. But make sure you've got a good understanding of Probate Mastery. That's kind of doing the right things in the right order to keep you on track.
Got it. Fantastic.
All right. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to jumping in.
All right. Thank you. Next up is phone number ending in 0727. You're up next.
Hello, everyone. How you doing today? Well, I'm Jonathan Hawkins in Dallas, Texas. I hope everyone's doing well. So I just have a real quick. Excellent day. I love it.
Yeah.
So I just want to, first thing, I want to start off by saying thank you guys for this program because it has made a difference. I'm a local real estate agent in Dallas. Of course, I was I'm working hard, but I was a teacher before. For 14 years, I was an instructor in the classroom. And so my newest client was one who only saw me as a teacher, even though I knew she and her husband were trying to sell a property, and they went to market with someone else before and expired, and I'm still talking to them, and they're like, yeah, that's nice, that's cute, okay. And but the wife found out before that I was working with probate. And so they were preparing to sell her home with someone else. They hadn't signed the paperwork yet, and her husband had a massive heart attack, and he subsequently died. And so she called me out of the blue. She's like, hey, Jay, Paul just had a heart attack. We're going to have to pull the plug. I don't know what to do. And because of this program and because of the people I put in place, I was like, okay, first thing we do is talk to this probate attorney. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And she was just completely, she was not only blown away, but she was like, I feel so comfortable. I'm not even going to talk to anyone else because you have everything. You have everything in place. I don't even talk to anyone else. And so it's a level of trust there now because she doesn't see me as just a real estate agent anymore. She sees me as like a guy with, the complete solution. And that's all come from this program right here. So I want to thank you guys for that and for the training of that, number one.
So the most valuable currency in the world, is the impact you have on other people. And that's awesome, man. Thanks for sharing that. Like,
yes.
As the teacher, you taught she got the lesson, right?
She did. And you know what? If she was actually the person in the office that was dealing with all the teams and everything else while I was the teacher, she was the administrator in the office, direct to the principal. So when she saw me before, she was like, oh, you're a teacher. You're a great teacher, but I don't know about this whole real estate thing because this is my biggest asset. And she wanted to make sure that I was confident, but just dealing with me through this space right here, she was just like, oh, my gosh. It's a new way to see Jonathan Hawkins now. So that's awesome. I appreciate that. Man. Now, I'm still a rookie. So my second question is this. I put together the absorption, how to absorb the house and everything else, but I'm not really cool on how to present it properly. And I want to know if there's anything that's been put together or even just to see someone deliver it because I'm kind of winging it off my own, because I've never seen it before until you actually show this in Probate Mastery. I've never seen that before. So, any help with that?
I don't have any recorded training on that. You can always fall back to a comparative market analysis instead of a market absorption analysis. Are you comfortable with a CMA?
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah, so you can always use a CMA. The reason I like the market absorption analysis is it gives me 2 years of data. It brings in the expireds, the actives, the pendings. It shows me who I'm competing with and who was obviously, overpriced or undermarketed. But if it's intimidating to you and you don't have a handle on it, just put that in your queue as something you're going to perfect. Don't feel like you have to do it in the appointment. And as I say in Mastery, I take that as that's a leverage point. It's a lever, right? So if I find myself in front of a family who have unrealistic price expectations, or they just want to challenge me on the valuation, then that's there for that reason. But 9 times out of 10, I don't even use it. I leave it with them so they feel like they're like, oh my God, we made the right decision. I don't even understand what this guy brought. How do I interpret this? And it's by design. Like the market absorption analysis, the way I present it it's almost meant to be confusing without my presence. So if it ends up in the hands of my competitors, they're like, what the hell, this guy's an idiot. I don't know what this is, because they've been trained to do one thing, right? Inside the box, CMA, CMA, CMA. So it's something that, guys, we have hold music playing.
I don't know where that came from.
Yeah, it's not me. It is, I know who it was, but they muted themselves now. I won't tattle on them, but it's gone now.
Okay. But anyway, Jonathan, so like I show you kind of in that last section of session 3 in Mastery, kind of how I pulled the 12 to 24 months and 0 to 12 months. And then I leave the bottom half of that form blank. You can. I don't have a recorded training. I'm sure there's stuff out there. I took it from the commercial real estate world. So when I was risking my own money as a new investor, I said, how do I get a better analysis tool than a CMA, or trusting some software to comp out my properties? So I started using that because I was brand new to the market. So I took it from the commercial real estate world. I don't quite remember. I think it was from a book. It might have been from How to Succeed in Commercial Real Estate by John Bowman, or Mastering Real Estate Investment by Frank Gallianelli. Those are 2 books that I read around the time that I started doing that. I'm guessing I probably found it. But anyways, it's something that I took from the commercial industry to differentiate myself and to protect my own investments. But if you look around, Bigger Pockets too might be a good place. Like just Google, search in Bigger Pockets, search market absorption analysis. I have to believe I'm not the only person out there doing it. Someone probably. And if you don't find what you need, call support or email support and have them elevate you to my calendar, and we can do it. Maybe we'll actually do it together, and I'll record it and do it as a tips from the trainer for everybody.
Awesome. It'd be awesome.
All right. Well, we have 2 more in the queue, Chad. Can you go a little over today, or do you have a?
Yeah, I'm okay until 2:15.
All right. So 2 brief callers left. The next one is phone number ending in 4512. You're up next.
Yeah, Chad has to get to lunch at 2:15, so we got to let him go. Hey, this is Richard in Birmingham. How you guys doing?
Good. How are you, Richard?
Great, man.
It's been a while. Hey, I got a quick question for you, Chad. I know you back a long time ago, and I had it in my folder, and I can't find it. Got a house, and the lady's insurance company, AAA, canceled it because they found out her dad had passed away. What are the 2 companies that you had mentioned before that we could get insurance on a vacant house?
The ones I use in Virginia are American Modern and Vacant Express.
American Modern and Vacant Express. Okay. Yeah, and then here, just a little brief here in Birmingham, I had a contract. Well, I've got 5 right now that's held up, but I had one in February. We just closed on it this week from everything that's been going on. Yeah. It's been crazy.
Richard, if neither of them are in your market, what I have found is just look for an independent company, somebody that isn't State Farm or Allstate. And there's a company called Tapco, and they actually are underwritten by Lloyd's of London. They're pretty much everywhere, and the small little independent carriers will usually offer it. But when I can pick up the phone and have insurance coverage in 15 minutes, I use it when I flip properties because it's a hassle to go through all the inspections that the big companies make you go through.
Okay. Did you say Tapco? C-A-P-C-O?
No, T-A-P-C-O is the one I use. Right. But any independent contractor, just tell them you need. I use it in Florida during hurricane season, or if a house won't pass the hurricane, the 5-point inspection. I usually use that when I flip houses. It's more expensive. It's about 50% more expensive, but it's quick and easy, and you can get coverage. You can get coverage instantly.
All right,
and most of them are probably underwritten by Lloyd's of London or a big carrier like that. but there's several different companies they go under.
Yeah. Now, you said, Chad, American Modern. What was the other one?
Vacant Express.
Vacant Express. All right. I appreciate it, guys.
All right. Thank you. And it is perfect timing. It's the top of the hour. Great call today, guys. Fewer calls, but we really dug into the issues that we talked about. So I want to end this call the same way I always do. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here, particularly thank the 4 or 5 people that actively participated. I want to challenge each of you, take one thought, one idea, one thing that inspired you on this call, go out and put it into practice, and please come back next Thursday and share your results with the group. In the meantime, stay productive, stay healthy, have a great week, and we will talk to you same time next Thursday. Take care.